This constant self-critical, endless thinking that doesn't lead you anywhere is why people burn out. But how to manage this has only been an important issue for maybe 20 years.
I'm really super excited and also very honored to introduce you to our guest, our special guest, Ruby Wax. She is, I have to say, she is a famous comedian. She is a writer of books. She is a TV host. She's, I think, also an actress. And even more importantly so, because that's why we're sitting here right now, she holds a degree in mindfulness behavior. Mindfulness-based cognitive
Nobody
therapy.
can say that.
Oh my gosh. Now, I do have to wonder, obviously, were you always the funniest bulb in the pack, or did you use humor as a coping mechanism to overcome other difficulties?
No, wasn't funny at all as a child, and kind of was pathetic. I had these tusks, we call them, not human. So I wasn't very popular. And then at about 16, I turned, because I wanted attention and I wasn't attractive, I turned into Joan Rivers overnight from this ugly duckling. It's a quite sad story, and suddenly I got all the boys. They ended up gay, but I didn't know that at the time. So I suddenly got attention, and it was a great mask. And then I kept it going, and then when I got to England, I made money on it.
When you were 16, you must have had this sort of moment that you decided for yourself, okay, I'm going to do it differently. How did you get to that point then?
I think it works in desperation. I don't know what happens. You're quiet, and if you look pictures of me, I look quite haunted. And then, you know, because you crave some attention and some respect, because my father thought I was an idiot.
That's so sad. Yeah.
Well, he did. He used to call me a sad sack. That I'm still haunted. So I wanted to prove something, and then I proved it. I couldn't be a model. I couldn't be a ballet dancer. I didn't have the legs. So I became a comedian, and then I could take their lines, what my parents said, and I didn't even have to edit them. I could just write what they said, and it was comedy.
Was it almost like a revenge act?
Oh, my whole life has been an act of revenge. So I used to say it to all those girls, you know, who went, do you look like that on purpose? You know, and the ones who were very popular, well,
the Queen
where
bees.
are they now? Yeah, they're all on Valium drips. But they didn't get me at all. And so just to avenge everybody, it's like I brought out the big guns and then did shows. Well. And then I invited them.
Was that enough, or did you
no,
still...
you know, you get over it pretty quickly, and then life moves on. It was just when you're 18, you want something. You want
recognition.
You want to be prom queen. You just want to be popular. I don't know if everybody does, but that's the first yearning, to be part of a tribe and part of a community that accept you how you are. And so that's been my drive most of my life.
Let's go back to your interviews with famous people. What was the interview with a famous person or a celebrity that you're most proud of?
Well, before celebrity, I did documentaries for 10 years, and they let me do whatever I wanted. That was the most interesting part of my life. So what did I do? I met the Ku Klux Klan, but I lived with them. And they made me a wizard at the end. And I'm probably the first female, and my ethnicity, because I don't judge people when I'm with them. Of course, I'm horrified, but I let them hang themselves. I got to see, you know, young girls who were going for rewards, you know, Miss Young America, which was so bizarre. Women who sold their eggs on the internet. I went to Russia just as Glasnost was kicking in, and they let me do that. That was fantastic. Then they said, would you do celebrities? So I thought, oh, well, this is just for one season. But I'm so interested in the nature of fame.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What's the disease? Because it is an addiction. So I thought, oh, let's do this. So when I was interviewing really well-known people, I was looking for the story behind their eyes.
How do you sort of evolve from a comedian and actress, TV host, the whole range of long achievements, to a mental health advocate? Because that's also something you're very passionate about. And your last books have been about mindfulness, and obviously you studied it from a scientific perspective. How does it happen? Is that because of your own experience?
No, it happens because you're thrown out of one job. I started getting depressed, and I think it showed in my eyes. I had it before, throughout my life. After Donald Trump, that was one of my final interviews, and that was a horror show. It looks like good TV, but he reminded me of my dad, and he looked at me with such hatred. And the questions I asked were moronic, but it still makes good TV. But it didn't feel good. You feel toxic. So there was a few more of those. And then I said, I got to get out of here and scrape what's left in my brain.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
So I hit a depression, not because of Donald, but it took a while. So I decided I would be a therapist. So I went to school to become a therapist. I was never really that interested, but I wanted to find out, what Freud was up to, and Winnicott and Bowlby. And I had a whole new set of friends. Obviously, I kept the old ones. And, that was my identity. And I weaned myself off of fame because it is addictive. And I did research about what was available for people with depression and other things. And it was mindfulness and cognitive-based therapy. That was having the most positive results. Not 100%, but interesting. For OCD, ADHD, PTSD, the whole, and depression, and just people generally frazzled, which I wrote a book on. So I met the guy who was one of the founders of that, the creators, and he was a professor at Oxford. So I cornered him and I said, tell me what happens in the brain. Don't give me the fluffy stuff. What actually, if I studied this, what would happen in my brain? And he said, kind of arrogantly, oh, if you want to know that, you'd have to get into Oxford and get your master's. So I did. When I do talks, and I do it a lot of them, and teach mindfulness to large groups in the theater sometimes, I have to go via the science, because most people go, oh, please, come on. They mistrust it, especially, men who are very powerful. So if I go the science route, suddenly they go, and many other things. People always say there's scientific research. Show it to me. You can see this in a brain scanner. I don't know if you have one at home, but those are the results.
Yes.
There's so much crap going on, and people are getting away with it and saying there's scientific research. Show it to me.
Yeah. Mindfulness is not something that you can buy snack-wise. You have to practice it, right? It's like a routine, a ritual that you have to, or a new habit you have to create.
A new habit, yeah. I mean, people always want, say, give me a top tip. We live in a culture where, do you think it's like an advertisement? You learned walking, you learned talking, any sport, you repeated it.
Yes.
So why would a brain exercise be any different? You have to grow that muscle. You can't get a six-pack with one sit-up.
Wouldn't it make sense if we sort of teach our children, and you write that also in your book, at a very young age, everything about mindfulness?
I went around the world to find out where were the green shoots that was going to really change the world. So I did business, I did tech, I did community, but I did education. And I did go to Finland, is way off the planet of how inventive they are. And they teach kids how to soothe their own minds. I mean, that's the job of the mother. And for those of us who had a mother that didn't read the manual, they teach kids. You could call it how to have empathy. You could call it emotional training. You don't have to call it mindfulness. But they give them exercises to be able to, cool their systems, because that's how do you self-regulate. So they give them tools.
We sort of founded a foundation. It's called Super Chill, which has an app for kids who go to school. And the teachers start their day just with 5 minutes of meditation and breathing and stuff like that. And we introduced it in the Netherlands. And I think in 2 years' time, they will want to roll it out more over the rest of Europe and maybe the rest of the world. Because I truly believe also that if you want to change the world, or if you want to make it a better place or a kinder place, then you have to start with the youngest generation.
I've seen remarkable exercises, especially in disadvantaged schools, where you could see these kids might be future sociopaths, but you can see them, how they cool that. They don't repress it, they don't run from it, but they're able to not blame the bully, but to say, this is in me, and I know how to settle it down. And if a teacher starts, as you say in the Netherlands, was always ahead of the game, by teaching the kids how to focus on their breathing, the rest of it will work as far as their academic grades, which parents are obsessed with. But if the kid is too stressed, this part in his brain, the hippocampus, it burns first, so they can't remember anything. So what was the point of studying if they go into that freeze, that freeze mode?
So you studied mindfulness and you achieved a degree, a master. And then did you think, I need to do this? Did you actually start practicing?
So in order to get your master's, you have to do a practical, show how you teach people, and write a dissertation. So I did that. Instead of the practical, I did my show. I did a show, but I took out the comedy in front of the people who judge whether you get a master's. And so they took it away, and they gave me, it hadn't happened before. So then I added comedy and took out the academia, and that became my show. And I toured it for, I don't know, 500 shows, and it did go in the West End, and it was called Frazzled. And frazzled isn't a word I made up. Frazzled is a neurobiological word, and it means stressed about stress. It is, we need stress, otherwise no mojo. But it's a contemporary illness where we go, I'm stressed. Why am I so stressed? Nobody else is stressed. I must be a schmuck because I'm so stressed. Why does nobody like me? They don't like me because I don't like. This constant self-critical, endless thinking that doesn't lead you anywhere is why people burn out and get frazzled. It means you can't focus on the job you need to focus on. But how to manage this has only been an important issue for maybe 20 years.
But is it maybe also a result because our society is much more evolved and we can't cope with that?
You know, we have a reptilian brain. We have to acknowledge that it's not your fault. It didn't disperse. Then we have a more evolved one, but it came on only 200,000 years ago. The other ones, millions. So this reptilian brain doesn't realize the wallpaper's changed, so we can't deal with the complexities of the 21st century. So we can't deal with competition, which was important, envy, shame, guilt, were all the things that made us survive.
Yes.
Now, because we're in constant communication with the rest of the world, the envy is about somebody I've never met. So I can't even keep up to them. And they're lying anyway about how great their life is.
Oh, absolutely. We know that.
The competition and all of this frazzles our brains.
Do you think then that mindfulness is the solution?
No, I don't think, nothing is 100%. And in some cases, I'd say move away from mindfulness. Like yoga, great. I can't tie my legs in a bow over my head, right? Mindfulness is, for me, it still gives the most interesting results, but not for everybody.
I find the word mindfulness quite weird, actually.
It's terrible.
Why? Who the hell came up with that? Because
I don't. They didn't speak English.
It's like a full mind, but that's the opposite of what you want to.
Heartfulness, I kind of understand,
Yes.
but that would be too gooey. I think they should have called it a brain workout. Maybe that's too dry, but it's like going to the gym, except
Exactly.
you're doing an exercise up here, and the results are, let's pretend it's a muscle, it's white matter. There's areas that really can get down the cortisol and areas that enhance your attention and actually create a situation. If you want to be present, you can. It's not gooey, it's an exercise. You don't have to be a genius. If you stick to it and even do 1 minute a day, there are changes that happen in the brain. Your attention, you can put it where you want. And, okay, I get bursts of anger. Don't kid yourself. And I need it in case I'm mugged. I better not have a smiley face or forget about it. Right, I would have been
see that because that adrenaline, that part makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
That's why it's so addictive, right? You feel like
But
really.
you need it. You need adrenaline. But in this society, it's kicked in all the time because advertisers want to get you craving because you'll buy the product.
Exactly.
Social media makes you run faster. You know, it's little increments. You don't have to sit on a gluten-free cushion, you know, levitating.
Yes.
It's just an exercise. Do it when you're standing in a queue, you know, when you're drinking coffee. I'll explain what it is later. But there's an exercise. 1 minute a day will already change it. And it's not because of wishful thinking or you're manifesting something. Go look at a brain scanner if you're lucky. This is the mothership. And if the mothership goes down because it's being pumped too full of the stress hormone, it takes out your body.
Then everything goes.
Everything,
Right?
your immune system shot. It's like the mind and the body are a onesie. And it'll open you up to, I can tell you, but I don't want to depress you, certain cancers, diabetes too, infertility,
heart disease,
the whole
everything.
thing, it's not inherited necessarily. It's too much gushing cortisol. And of course, you have the valve.
Yeah, you can adjust it.
Yeah.
That's why we, in the Art of Soulful Living, speak about them, we take it a little further. The body, mind, and soul. I believe people actually are looking to their health, bodily wise. They do actually look at how can I bring down stress levels. But we are so focused on the outside that we actually never look inward. I also read that in your book. And I truly believe that there's also a very fundamental issue with humanity, is that they don't actually get back to their soul. So for us, it's the mind, body, soul part.
Yeah.
Lastly, for the part on you, if you would describe yourself, what would it be?
It would be whatever I woke up in the morning with. I don't know what I am. I mean, I know I went to Oxford, and I know I had a TV career, especially now that I can watch it and on TV, but I don't know much else. I mean, there's accolades or there's things you've won, but that's not me. There's even something in the book again that says, who are you? And you write down, oh, I got an, whatever. Then it says, who are you again? And you can't repeat what you said in the first place. And then who are you again?
Oh, but then I have a different question for you, if you can't answer this. That I understand what you're saying. That's just your achievements. It's not who you are. What's your most positive character trait?
Oh, our curiosity. That's my most.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.